elimination of discrimination against weaker sections, including women. In addition, good economic governance also seeks sufficient budgeted provisions for priority social sectors. Progressive, then also progressive taxation and subsidy systems and equitable access to credit and land. Good political and economic governance would entail strong institutions as institutions finally determine the efficiency of market functioning. Economists and political scientists have largely been ignoring the civic dimensions in which individuals, families, communities frequently operate. As freedom to form association is a basic human right and very often a constitutional one. Business associations, trade unions, religious organizations, various forms of non-governmental organizations such as voluntary associations, community-based organizations, philanthropic trusts, and research foundations have a definite and distinct role in self-help, self-initiative, and self-development. In while Soviet Union, that this was completely missing. Flourishing civil organizations will not only assert for rights but also gender responsibility. Self-policy is the best policy. It is a beautiful, good governance is a beautiful program which is going on in India and also in Odisha context. It is rightly suggested that each of three dimensions are completed to the other two. They are interactively linked and they together achieve human governance. Then smart governance. Then come to the smart governance. However, in India, acronym SMART was coined to denote simple, moral, accountable, responsible, and transparent. SMART. SMART means simple, moral, accountable, responsible, transparent. Smart governance owes its origin to politicians' reliance on e-resources as their use was found to be more dependable in terms of pace, but also making rent seekers less powerful. E-governance is the vehicle through which smart governance has been sought to be achieved. The 11th report of Second Administrative Reforms Commission is named as Promoting E-Governance, the Smart Way Forward, defining e-governance as the application of information and communication technology to government functioning in order to create a simple, moral, accountable, responsible, and transparent. Smart governance. So the report recommends the use of ICT, information and communication technology, for a wider participation of citizens in public affairs in decision-making processes. E-governance and smart governance are a kind of twins. E-governance can, however, be useful only when processes, procedures, structures of government are re-engineered and made compatible with the information and communication technology requirements in terms of software and hardware. There is no denying that ICT can, to an extent, accommodate specific structures, as no two governments would be a replica of each other. The smart governance is more than using technology. E-governance is usually different than e-government, while nevertheless is an essential part of the former. If G or C were stand for the government and the citizen respectively, and two for two, then there will be four kinds of communication. Then it is no doubt e-governance is a highly complex processes requiring provision of hardware, software, networking, but it is the re-engineering of procedures for decision making which holds the water, and as ICT is dynamic, e-governance too will have to be a dynamic. One can recall that many of the cards that are in our possession are smart, and the move is to have smart citizen, and wherein most of the information is tagged in many places it is the biometric information logged in. Biometric information, everything is transferable, accountable, and transparency. Let us now note how these attributes of good governance are split. Simple, meaning simplification of rules, regulations, processes for government through the use of information and communication technology, and thereby providing for a user-friendly government. For example, Government may use a single window, one-stop services to facilitate delivery of services to a common citizen. E-governments come handy. Moral, connoting emergence of an entirely new system of ethical values in the political and administrative machinery, technology interventions, and can improve the efficiency of anti-corruption agencies. Policy, judiciary, if they wish, electoral reforms, empowerment of women, enhancing literacy, could also be carried out in a better way through ICT interventions. Use of EVM, electronic voting machine, elections in India helped improve the fairness of elections. आगुरी कौन थिला आगुरी थिला manual माने स्लिप दिया होतला ସେମାନେ ଦସ୍ତଖତ କରୁଥିଲେ ମାନେ ପକଉଥିଲେ use of EVM in elections helped improve the fairness of elections. Then accountable, facilitating design, development and implementation of effective management information system and performance measurement mechanisms, and thereby ensuring accountability of public service through information and communication technology interventions. Accountability can be ensured in more efficient ways. Whereas in Indian country it is going on, but in developed countries they are using very smartly. Machinery they are using very responsive manner, streamlining the process to speed up service delivery and make system more responsive. For instance, citizen charter as a set of assurances given by the government agencies is an instrument on the quality of service delivery. Through ICT interventions, responsiveness could be quick, then transparent, bringing information either to confined in the government files into public domain and making processes and functions transparent. Transparency being some of the essential virtues in public life, such as equity, level playing field, and the rule of law. They reduce the scope of discretion and corruption. Right to information, the right to know why certain decisions were taken is an instrument of transparency. E-governance would be helpful in quick dissemination of information. Commentator on smart governance sometimes relate these features with the work of bureaucracy, which is greatly responsible for the formulation and implementation of various programs and policies of the government. Though not included in the acronym, smart approach is expected to enable people's participation beyond elections in decision making. It is further expected that a smart approach to governance makes government efficient, bereft or hierarchical barriers and a red tape. Automation of administrative processes. The first step of e-governance will minimize human intervention, leading to bias, less service delivery, and availability of online information for each department will enable file movement faster and user-friendly by reducing paperwork, thus saving physical space and exploitation of environment. With e-governance, public actions comes under media and public glare, and thereby inducing norms and values of accountability, openness, integrity, fairness, equity, responsibility, and justice. They accept reduction in transaction costs, empowerment of common citizens, smart governance, and its sister e-governance are thus harbinger of the new century ethos. Then, however, it appears the smart governance largely concentrated on the working of public sector, mainly bureaucracy. It is needed, so that is why it was favored by the second administrative reform commission, whose main mandate was performing administration, was promoted and propagated by the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances. It may be noted that both human governance and smart governance belong to two different generations. While the former is more about judging the quality of a governance process in terms of human outcomes, the latter is judging the quality of administrative processes. The schism is substantially akin to that between the end and the means. Smart human governance is using e-technology, but will be judged by the quality in terms of human governance outcomes. Dimensions of good governance. The World Bank has proposed in its worldwide governance indicators project defines good governance in terms of the traditions and institutions by which authority in a country is exercised. The process by which there are three dimensions. The process by which governments are selected, monitored, and replaced. The capacity of the government to effectively formulate and implement sound policies, and the respect of citizens and the state for the institutions that the govern economic and social interactions among them. While this description is fraught with a number of issues, the main stem does not say anything which qualifies governance as good, though they include constitutional arrangements in government personnel, the nature of people and their state. The qualification of sound before policies would mean different things for different groups of people and agencies. While economic centric people would look for efficiency, society oriented ones who would search for equity. The inclusion of sound policies in the second dimension raises the question whether international experts, mostly economists, can really be expected to know what constitutes sound policies. For example, should pensions or healthcare or education privately or publicly funded, or should they be imparted physical provisions or through insurance? These broad definitions can further be criticized or mixing together policy content and procedures. The mixture rule refers to both the institutions that provide access to political power, those that exercise and implement laws and policies. To what extent and how should financial institutions be regulated? Obviously, some political institutions or aspects of policy are more important than others in determining the quality of our governance. If you examine other definitions, they are likely to meet the same fate. The result is he grandly wanted good governance to rest in peace in a paper in 2017, as he found prolific reparation of muddy thinking on governance. So we only note dimensions suggested in some of the contributions by international agencies. While making good governance index, the WGI in 1996 clearly unfolds 6 dimensions by splitting 3 aspects mentioned above. There are 6 aspects, 6 dimensions: voice and accountability, political stability and absence of violence, then government effectiveness, regulatory quality, rule of law, and control of corruption. In contrast, the UNDP has identified 5 areas of intervention along which governance could be improved: legislature, judiciary and electoral bodies, public and private sector management, decentralization and local governance, civil society organization, and governance in special circumstances. There is little common between them, but in another policy document in which UNDP admits the importance of good governance suggests 9 criteria: participation, rule of law, transparency, responsiveness, consensus orientation, equity, effectiveness and equity, accountability and strategic vision. The OECD countries seem to include another set of 10 criteria: effectiveness, efficiency, transparency, accountability, predictability, sound financial management, fighting corruption, respect for human rights, democracy, the rule of law. By 2013, it stopped using the phrase good governance in its human development report. Suggested good governance, there is a human development report. In a state level, there is a state development report. And suggested governance principles for democratic governance through following 3 double criteria: the participation and inclusion, non-discrimination and equality, and a rule of law and accountability. These tilt more towards political side than administrative. There are quite a few things common. One can easily make a distinction between the administrative core of good governance, which is a legitimate part of government, and a closely associated political area, which involves people in governance. Principles such as accountability, efficiency, transparency, or the rule of law belong to the first category, that is the administration, while respect for human rights, participation, democratization belong to political area. Various other international agencies, including those of UN system and outside, have also put their neck into the matter. They also try figure out some common dimensions without criticizing others, but finally end up differing it would be instructive to prepare a comparative chart of representative sets of dimensions and the ingredients listed by some of these agencies. In some or the other places, we choose here one or other affiliate of the UN system or the World Bank regional counterparts. Who one can notice agencies' concerns reflected as well as regional variations. Maximum common dimensions come out to be only two: participation and accountability. It means in the agency's estimate, people seek their participation in decision making, which is very much expected in a democratic dispensation, and they wish to hold authorities to be accountable for their actions. Moreover, beyond the enumeration, the agency narrations may add new dimensions. For example, the UNSCAP further writes, it good governance assures that corruption is minimized, that the views of the minorities are taken into account, and that the views of the most vulnerable in society are heard in decision making. It is also responsive to the current and future needs of the society. Governance in India. Judging governance in any country requires knowing whether proper institutional structure of governance is in place, whether proper mechanisms and procedures have been adopted, whether proper roles have been assigned to different stakeholders, and how well they play their roles, and whether there exists a relation framework for accommodating dynamics of the time. Firstly, let us broadly know about the institutional structures and the operational mechanism as they exist in India. Then we shall indicate in brief the state of affairs of government. A constitutional assembly, though through indirect elections, we was constituted a little before independence, passing through turbulent times of facing partition of the country and getting hundreds of princely states access to India and getting them turned into viable units. The assembly could prepare a constitution in 3 years' time. Members put the final signature by 26th November 1949, but it was decided to promulgate the constitution to replace the government of India Act of 1935 on 26th January 1950, as 26th January 1930 was the day set for complete independence in a Purna Swaraj resolution carried out on 31st December 1929. In the section of the Indian National Congress which was held in Lahore, since then the 26th January was celebrated as a Purna Swaraj Day for next 17 years. In the constitution adopted parliamentary form of government and provided an elaborate legal framework and institutional structure as well as mechanism. And procedures for the three wings of government, three levels of government. Local were explicitly incorporated in 1993. The constitution guarantee certain rights to people vis-a-vis the state, which is further guided by certain principles of governance of the country. They are called as fundamental rights and directive principles of state policies respectively. It is generally accepted that they embody the concept of a welfare state in India. Besides, there are provisions regarding oversight, constitutional bodies like a Controller and Auditor General of India and Election Commission, besides judiciary, which is a wing of government. It may be noted that word government is invariably used for the executive wing of the government. Government of India for the union executive and the government of a state for state executive. Then the fundamental rights entitle people to certain rights that are enforceable by a court of law, such as the right to life, the right to freedom of association, right to freedom of expression, and the right to education. Since 2009, equitability before law and equal protection under law. Besides, a citizen of age of 18 and above has a right to vote in elections to parliament, state legislatures, and local governments. And one of age 21 is eligible to contest to membership in a local government, and one of 25 to House of Representatives and Legislative Assembly. Elections have also been organized frequently under the supervision of the Election Commission for Parliament, state legislation, and state election commissions for local governments. Compared to several other countries, Indian elections have generally been fair, and a process has generally been improving over time. But for this, India, the largest democracy, is also said to be a vibrant democracy. Many young leaders are making history by becoming mayors of municipal corporations and sarpanch of gram panchayats in their 20s. Further, there exists an independent judiciary that interprets the constitution, uphold the constitutional rights to citizens, Indian citizens, punishes violence of the law of the land, also strikes down laws and policies made by the executive that run counter to the provisions of the constitution. The Supreme Court has adopted an innovative device of public interest legislation litigation since 1980s to enable any person or civil society group to approach the court seeking legal remedies in cases where public interest is at stake. Higher judiciary has acted even on the basis of postcards, letters from individuals, articles in newspapers, and petitions from a wide cross section of people. The Supreme Court's positive pronouncements in areas of civil liberties and socio economic and development rights have altered people and government alike. There are several watchdog institutions, some constitutional and some statutory. To name a few, there is a Controller and Auditor General (CAG), the Election Commissioner of India, the Central Vigilance Commission, the Securities and SEBI, the Security and Exchange Board of India and Reserve Bank of India, the National Green Tribunal to oversee, check malpractices in areas coming under their respective jurisdictions. All states have locals and a Lokpal has just been appointed at a union level. In 2019, they are empowered to look into cases of corruption against government officials, including Chief Minister, Prime Minister. It took 50 years, but finally it happened. There are also in existence National Commission for Scheduled Castes, Scheduled Tribes, Backward Classes, Women and Minorities, as well as national and state human rights commissions to cover the wrongs committed against those sections. They are empowered to protect for their rights and promote their welfare. It is a beautiful program, but they are acting all the sectors, all the departments. They are performing their duty perfectly. In a vigilance manner. A little known fact about the legislative wing of the government is the existence and work of parliamentary committee and committees of the legislative assembly, which function almost a mini legislature and are there to scrutinize legislative and executive actions. Actually, they are also a link between people and legislature on the one hand and between legislature and government. In the parliament, a number of committees went on increasing over time. As of now, there are 3 finance committees of standing nature: Estimate Committee, Public Accounts Committee, and Committee on Public Undertakings. 24 standing committees related to the government departments, 16 standing committees for other subjects, and 9 ad hoc committees. Different committees. They are visiting to different sites for the verification, execution, and monitoring, evaluation. A minister is not eligible for election or nominations to all such committees, except a few in the ad hoc category, which are either as a select committee or joint parliamentary committee. Select committee examine in consultation with the public and experts legislative bills brought before parliament are recommended for the consideration of parliament. What can revise or reject them? For example, National Identification Authority Bill 2010 was rejected. Similarly, mechanism exists in the legislature at the state levels. The system of parliamentary committees is becoming more and more consultative at various stakeholders, including the state governments, present their cases before these committees. However, at a times some standing committees are not constituted and due diligence is not applied in the security of the bills. This is what happened in 7th Lok Sabha. But governance goes beyond government. As is well known, Media is often considered as the state of fourth power pillar of democracy. In modern times, as they can widen considerable power to influence the role of the three wings of the government. Media is a powerful weapon. Media in India is quite free and has quite been vigilant public orders. Sting now is a digitalized media. Sting operations have been a recent addiction in its armored to unearth corrupt practices. Media has exposed several unethical practices in public life. For example, corruption in the procurement of weapons for the armed forces, influence and winning over of a witness for one of the parties to litigation, and the sale of S-band spectrum to a private company by Antrix Corporation of the Department of Space, 2G scam, coal auction, Commonwealth Games. It's the Press Council of India guards the freedom of the press. The Right to Information Act 2005 has strengthened the media also besides individuals. Many government organizations felt compelled to put up citizen charters to ensure transparency in their dealings. Then there is existence a modicum of think tank in the country. Think tank in the country. Further, role of non-government organizations cannot be belittled. They promote the participation of a civil society in the governing process by bringing forth the views of the public on various issues, creating awareness about issues of importance and fighting for the rights. Placard ଧରିକିରି awareness କରିବା ଏସବୁ କରନ୍ତି of the people or the of specific section of society. ବିଭିନ୍ନ ବର୍ଗର ସବୁ ଏକଜୁଟ ହେଇକିରି ରାଲି କରିବା ତାଙ୍କ ରାଇଟ୍ସ ପାଇଁ ଫାଇଟ୍ କରିବା ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ awareness କରିବା ହେଲା. For instance, enactment of Lokpala and Lok Act in 2013 was entirely to the agitation by the NGOs. Private or corporate sector also has its associations, chambers, federations at several levels, sectoral level, as well as a regional, state and national level. The same is true of other interests like non-corporate business which may organize at local level and may have federations. Labor, farmer, wholesalers, retailers, street vendors do organize as do residents through associations, forums. India is full of them. They communicate among themselves as well as with the governments and agencies at various levels. There are religious organizations and trusts which are guided by the law of the land. However, several oversights regulatory authorities had to be created to check the abuse of dominance. Competition Commission of India, SEBI, RDI, TRAI, ERCs are examples to be studied. In recent decades, quite a few developments have taken place in technology, the most important being in the area of information and communication. With the development in information and communication technology, e-governance has been introduced with the national e-governance programs since 2006. Over the years, various government operations and services have been brought within its fold, especially at the cutting edge of administration to cut down delays in the delivery of services and reduce the scope for malpractice and corruption. Most notable example of e-governance is existence of the universalized unique identification number of citizens through Aadhaar card since 2009. Then, thus, most of the institutional structures considered necessary for ensuring good governance exist in India, and as noted above, with some good governance outcome. Yet the present governance scenario in India is far from satisfactory as indicated below. A majority of the people, the poor and the illiterate, is unaware of its entitlements. Rights violations do occur. The socially disadvantaged sections of society are at times maltreated and discriminated, socially segregated, and even physically assaulted, and the police is often found to look the other way. Women, even the educated ones, fare no better. At times, it is felt that atrocities against women are rising. Notwithstanding the efforts of the election commissioner to read the election process of the influence of money and muscle power, elections continue to be driven by these factors, thereby preventing a real competition of political power. There exists another worried trend, which is the loss of parliaments and legislatures time by disruption of proceedings, resulting into or disruption of passage of bills, while increase in representation of women in legislation has improved. The presence of industrialists, businessmen, traders, and builders, and those from allied groups is rising. While the former share is 15%, that of the latter is reaching 25%. Most people consider the former as a welcome sign and the latter as a as be musing. Only happy development people see in this regard that women and at that young women are actively participating in local government thanks to positive approach of the same states. Then one notices rampant corruption at all levels. Take any scheme, for example, MGNRGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. There are issues at implementation level. People often say that Indians are good at planning and bad in implementation. A plan which is cannot be implemented is not a plan at all. Actually, MGNRGA, it is a beautiful program. It is a beautiful program by the government of India. In MGNRGA, it is a beautiful program. Just the report, Mahatma Management of National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, issues and challenges. Just I would like to add something. Actually, National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, the Parliament passed the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act in the monsoon session of 2005. The act received the assent of the President on September 5, 2005 and was notified in the Gazette of India on September 7, 2005. NRIG aims at enhancing livelihood security by providing at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in a finance year to every household. Understand? Do you follow? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Huh.
Yes, sir.
NRG, it is a beautiful. Just I would like to add something about the NRG. The book is a report on management of a National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, issues and challenges, which it is NRG aims at enhancing livelihood security by providing at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in a financial year to every household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work. It was formally launched by Dr. Manmohan Singh and the UPA chairman Srimati Sonia Gandhi at Bandlapale village in Anantapur district of Andhra Pradesh on February 2nd, 2006. The act, which was implemented on February 2, 2006, covered 200 districts in its first phase and was extended to 330 additional districts in 2007-2008. All the remaining districts have been covered with the effect from April 1, 2008. NRGA, with its right-based framework, is a paradigm shift from all other development programs that were traditionally supplied lead centrally funded entirely through domestic resources. The implementation of this law is supposed by a budget based on the demand for employment. It's a beautiful program. I have visited different states of India. I have seen, I was the part of this program as a national level monitor, visiting to different states of India. Apart from providing livelihood to millions of households over the last 3 years, the Act has become a significant vehicle for strengthening grassroots level democratic processes. Each generation of India is depleting natural resources base. The legislation also had the positive impact on the socio-economic empowerment of women, creation of durable assets, and strengthening the livelihood resource base of the rural poor are the two core elements of the energy program. The program devolves considerable powers to panchayats and encourages the use of right to information and social audit to ensure transparent and effective implementation. Some of the challenges, major challenges are lack of local participation, then over dependence on bureaucracy, rigidity of schemes, pilferage of resources, leakages and corruption, supply driven wage employment schemes, inadequate employment generation, inability to provide minimum livelihood security, forgery and a delay in wage employment, lack of amenities to workers, poor participation of women, inflexible employment opportunity to workers' demand, lack of transparency employment and cash distribution, funding of master roles and employment of children. These are the outcomes. So, energy, in energy I have seen that is water, construction of water harvesting structure, then road, school building, gram panchayat building, and other infrastructures like afforestation, for social forestry programs where there is a need, and also some small bridges, culvert, and also different. It is all one in program. In Chhattisgarh, I have seen in NRAG, they are giving some small infrastructures like the for keep grain storage and other infrastructure farm pond. So many programs are going on. It is an all-in-one program. Like all the programs are many programs are conducted. The wall, guard wall, and a school boundary, school building, and other infrastructures are constructed in MGNRG program. And also, it is a guarantee providing at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in a financial to every household. It is a very, very beautiful program, but whereas it lacks good implementation. Then come to the a plan which is cannot be implemented is not a plan at all. Understand? A plan is which cannot be implemented is not a plan at all. Plan in action and in a successful manner. For ensuring better behavior from private corporate sector, Companies Act of 1956 has been replaced by Companies Act of 1913, whereby corporate governance has improved in the composition of a board of directors, appointment of a company secretary, corporate social responsibility, but it is found that rules are followed in letter but not in spirit. The rules should be followed in letter and spirit. It should be. Every person should be treated as the article of faith. The work should be in both in letter and spirit. Though malgovernance was found to be a major issue in non-successful aided projects, good governance attracted many definitions and descriptions from varied institutions. National government adopted good governance but adopted somewhat different definitions, benefiting their areas of interest. Scholars joined the debate and analyzed contents of various conceptions, terms, and implications. Some were found closer to administrative systems, and others were towards political systems. There is some kind of evolution over time and tilting towards democratic governance. Some found the development of quite bewildering. There were also suggestions for democratic governance, public governance, human governance, smart governance, and e-governance. Now it has been digitally so many programs have been developed. Several agencies put forward a certain criteria to the quality of governance. There is some convergence, but also a lot of divisions. By the large people's participation in decision making, transparency in administrative process, accountability and government officials, and the responsibility of government departments, agencies were given him as a yardsticks of good governance. Rule of law, combating corruption also find favor, but then depending upon our agency's focus, other criteria also mentioned. Finally, we discuss governance in India, institutional structure, mechanism, instruments as enshrined in the constitution of other agencies, and the roles thrown up by status. Role of media and NGOs, contribution of influence groups, pressure groups. However, everything is not a hunky-dory with the governance in India, with a few pitfalls and weaknesses are pointed out. This is the situation of good governance. Good governance is nothing but good governance encompasses several key ingredients that foster a transparent, accountable, and a responsive system of governance. That is the major key ingredients are transparency, accountability, participation, rule of law, effectivity and efficiency, anti-corruption measures, human rights, sustainability, inclusiveness, responsible administration. The major benefits improve public services, increase transparency and accountability, better economic outcomes, enhance citizen trust, and a more inclusive and equitable society. In Indian context, it is a good sign, positive sign for good governance. In a Odisha context, gone are the days, but in Odisha context, it is in a positive manner. So many things have been changed. Good governance, in good governance. Thanks. Thanks. Now the time is over. The class has been closed. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thanks.
Sir.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. हेलो हाँ हाँ टाइम ओभर हो गला हाँ हाँ सरला तो 25टा सरीगला हाँ रेकर्डिंग के जानी से कहले तो आप काम करंतु आ रेकर्डिंग कथा कौन कहबी आप हाँ से ऑटोमेटिक सेटा हबो हाँ 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 थैंक यू